YouTube. Over to you, Paul.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Then pronounce. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for your kind words. Could you please confirm, Prabhuji, you could hear me?
Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Then pronounce to all the assembled devotees. Thank you so much for the opportunity to share a few things. And as Prabhuji said, we were very busy recently completing Bhakti Vaibhav 2. And that's so true. It was very fast tracked, which I didn't know when I signed up. I knew it was compared to Bhakti Vaibhav 1, it's going to be fast tracked, but I thought it's 2 hours every day, Monday to Friday. But it happened 3 hours every day, Monday to Friday. And it's a mercy of Guru and Gauranga that I'm able to do it, because it was my office time. Hence, it was a bit difficult, but it's a miracle how it all happened. And recently finished, recently completed. So very fresh in mind what we did and all the devotees associated. And it was my pleasure and blessings to have Prabhuji's association in Bhakti Vaibhav Module 1, as we did some units together. So thank you so much for inspiring all of us, Prabhuji. And while the devotees are getting joined now, I would like to share the screen. So I'm there now. Hare Krishna. So I hope I can. Hare Krishna. So before we go any further, let's do Mangalacharan. Put our hands and hearts together, especially for myself, to take the blessings of Guru and Gauranga, so we can do justice to this session. And I say we because I don't consider this session as a lecture or presentation, but rather discussion. So either all of us, or at least most of us, could engage ourselves in this discussion. And I think that's how the session should be, especially the Zoom engaging active sessions, because as I always say, if you really want to hear the lectures, then if I would say for myself, you don't really need to take time out to hear to me, because there are so many sessions out there from many great devotees, sannyasis. The only thing which we could do here on Zoom in comparison to what's available on YouTube is that here on Zoom, we could engage each other and we could discuss, which we can't do on YouTube. Well, of course, YouTube lives are there these days, but again, it's a bit hard. But here, and it's a very closed door session, if you think about it. There are 23 devotees at the moment here, and it should be engaging. It should be in a discussion format rather than just one person speaking. And again, from the reference of Bhakti Vaibhav 1 and Bhakti Vaibhav 2, which Prabhuji mentioned, so in Bhakti Vaibhav 1 and 2, we do lectures, we do individual lectures, and we do individual presentations. And I think I will request Prabhuji to maybe share that guidelines we have for individual lectures and individual presentations with everyone, because that's what Mayapur Institute consider that all the devotees should have when we do it. And one of the major part is how we engage our audience. So if that's missing, then certainly we are missing and we are drifting away from Guru Parampara, if I say. If we consider Mayapur Institute as our Guru, because a lot of us are learning from them. And Mayapur Institute is one of the major ones, but I know similar, like Bhaktivedanta Manor, where I am, I think we all do similar things. So maybe we will touch base a bit more if in case anyone needs the clarification on what I'm saying. Let's do Mangalacharan. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Jnanadamandasya Jnanajana Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshikaya. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktivedanta. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. My respects and obeisances to all the assembled devotees. Seek your blessing. Vancha kalpa tarubhyascha kripal sindhuyaivacha patita namah Vaishnavebhyo namo namah namo namah namo. Prabhupada ki Gurudev Maharaj ki jai. Jai Jai Shri Radhesh. So where we are in Chaitanya Charitamrita is Madhya Lila, chapter 2. So before we go further, we got to go Madhya Lila chapter 2, and I think it is verse 2, which says Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna. So, let me quickly share. Hare Krishna. I hope you can see the slides now.
Yes, Prabhu.
So, as usual, we'll try, well, I will try to read the verse. And again, I haven't gone any better with Bengali. And my bad. Usually when we read other Shastras, especially like what we do in Bhakti Vaibhav, going through Srimad Bhagavatam, then try to recite Sanskrit because it's very close to Hindi, or Bengali, which is written in, which is not written in Devanagari, in Hindi Lipi, in English, doesn't attract much to me personally. So I always struggle in Bengali anyways, especially when I know there are some Bengali devotees. And I still remember my time in Madhya Pradesh when I used to hear in Bengali, from Bengali devotees, how they recite, which is beautiful. And we were discussing about the engagement. So if I open the floor right from the start, as I was saying that we all should have the discussion going. We all should have the engagement in the sessions. It's not my session, it's certainly our sessions. I could be considered as the facilitator for this session because I'm leading. But of course, the session is for everyone. So may I request any devotee who would like to read the Bengali verse here in Bengali? Which will be much more glorious than the way I'm going to recite.
Rangmanjari Mataji is there in the session.
I was thinking, Prabhuji, I don't want to take the name because Mataji is very active, very proactive. I don't know what time and which city and country she'll be in.
Must be getting ready for work.
Yes, that's what I thought. I better not take the name. But when I was actually mentioning, she was the one whom I used to hear reciting the Bengali verses while we were there at Baldaini Mataji's place. Hare Krishna. So I will put my request once more, otherwise I will carry on. But it's always good to have the engagement going, as I was saying, that we feel rather than just one person or a couple of persons, we all have the engagement. Anyone who would like to recite the Bengali verse for us, please. Right, okay, I tell you, as soon as I will start reciting, I'm sure many of you will think,
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat.
Yeah, let me try, Prabhu. Even I am not perfect in Bengali.
Please, Prabhuji.
64 verse, Prabhu.
Yes, please.
मत गज भाव गण प्रभुर देह इक्षु वन गज युथे बनेर दलन प्रभुर हैल दिव्य उन्माद तनु मनेर अवसाद भावावेशे करे सम्बन्धन.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat. Prabhuji, thank you so much. And I will request, it's such a great way of engaging and so good to hear you, Prabhuji. I was actually missing you because Sachi Mataji did the Kirtan and we all cherish your Kirtan. So Prabhuji, if in case you would like to read others as well, I will request you later, if in case you would like to. Otherwise, I will request every time from all the devotees to read the Bengali, if anyone would like to. The way Prabhuji recited, I would never able to recite. No, I can't recite at the moment, can't say anything in future. Krishna's mercy could change things. But let's do a bit of recap where we are in Chaitanya Charitamrita. I'm sure everyone is aware that the way Chaitanya Charitamrita has been put together, we have Adi, which is the beginning, and then we have the Madhya in the middle, and then we have the Ant Lila. In Madhya itself, the first two chapters, and right, okay. The main thing, so we'll come back to the verse. We shall come back to the verse. I'm going to stop the sharing here, and I'm going to start the sharing from a different screen. And that's where we are. Just a very brief put together. It's always good to overview before we narrow down. It's always good to have the bird view of where we are, what we're doing. Because sometimes we get dwell so much into details that we forget the whole context. And what I have understood, where we are in the Shastras, it's very important to understand the context of the text rather than just reading anything individually. So we are in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, and as I thought very briefly, the overview. Chapter 1 and 2 is a synopsis of Madhya and Anta Lila. And this is very interesting, very interesting that we are in Madhya Lila, and we can understand if we get the synopsis of Madhya Lila. Synopsis is this kind of summary, a kind of overview of the main points highlighted. Now, we can understand if beginning of Madhya Lila, the author put together the synopsis of that Leela. But Anta Leela, which is the next section and the last section of the scripture, that has also been given. So chapter 1 is a synopsis of Madhya Lila. Chapter 2, which is Anta Leela, which we are doing now, which is the subject matter for our discussion today, that's also there. So I wonder if anyone would like to say why. I'm sure we have discussed this number of times. Anyone? So of course we could understand Madhya Lila synopsis is there in the beginning of Madhya Lila, but why synopsis of Anta Lila is there in the beginning of Madhya Lila? Is it only me, or has anyone thought about it? I'm sure some of the sessions we have done previously, we have discussed it. Anyone? Hare Krishna. Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Pranam, Prabhu.
Please, Mataji.
Prabhu, I think while Krishnadas Kumaras Goswami wrote Chaitanya Charitamrita, he was very old, like 95 years old. So that's why he thought that if he, after Madhya Lila, the Anta Lila portion, what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's, all that ecstatic symptoms, and he thought that maybe because of his old age, if he leaves the body, he can't glorify all that ecstatic symptoms. That's why he just gave glimpse of all that symptoms in Madhya Lila. Am I right, Prabhu?
Thank you so much, Papaji. Indeed, that's one of the reasons we understand, and that is the main reasons. Thank you so much, Mataji, for sharing it. And thank you, Ramanan Kanai Prabhuji, for raising your hand. I guess you would like you wanted to say the same thing.
Prabhu, I have one more reason to add.
Please, Prabhuji. Yes, please.
This is my realization. It is like when the author is giving synopsis of the coming chapters in advance, like now coming section as well. Anta Lila synopsis also he is giving here. We can understand it is kind of a trailer for us to develop that inquisitiveness and a taste. What are we going to hear? What nectar we are going to get in coming section also. So that gives more inquisitiveness, more interest for us, for the readers to try to hear or read this section as well as coming chapters more attentively. This is my understanding.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Prabhuji. And that's the reason I said that is one of the major reasons. But of course, there are many more. And your author yourself, you have authored a great book. And this is what authors do to try to get the audience hooked up. They give a bit of taster in between that stay on, hang on to it. I have a lot more to review. And that's what we call page turners while you're reading the book. So you know something interesting is going to come later. So thank you so much, Mataji, and thank you so much, Prabhuji, for sharing that. And that is indeed the reason we understand. Now, do we have any other acharyas? Of course, it's a Guru Parampara, and we are supposed to get into the mood and mission of our previous acharyas. Do we know any other acharyas? There have been many who have written extensively in our Sampradaya. Any other acharyas who we believe did something very similar in one of the other Shastras?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, please.
Prabhuji, according to my knowledge, Prabhupada has given 10th canto Srimad Bhagavatam as Krishna book, Prabhu, prior to 10th canto. That's what my understanding, Prabhu.
Haribo. Thank you so much, Mataji. Yes, indeed. Srila Prabhupada, the founder Acharya, himself did that. And that's how we understand not only that Prabhupada always said that it's not that I'm doing anything new, not that I'm concocting anything new. It's just previous Acharya words and the realizations I'm putting together, maybe in different language, because they were in Sanskrit, they were in Bengalis, and I'm just putting them together in a different language. And he has given the credit to Acharyas a lot more than anyone else, I believe, especially recently, if you think about. But not only that, he followed the words, he also followed the mood of previous acharyas, that of course his age was there, because of which, and he was so right. He was so right, because he could never able to complete due to the time constraints, and he could only do, I think, Brahmohan Lila until then. And that's the reason he decided that Krishna book of kind of emergency, I will give it now. And this is what in Chaitanya Charitamrita Krishna Kaviraj Goswamiji did, that he put together Anta Leelas, glorious. And this is what we are doing chapter 2 now. So I thought it's very important for us to understand the mood and mission of our founder Acharya, that the way we do it. And again, connecting it back to Bhakti Vaibhav, that in the way when we do one of the requirements, so there's a big list of requirements when you do the lectures, when we do the presentations. And the reason I'm sharing this, because most of us, or maybe all of us here, are preachers. We try, given the circumstances, time, place, and circumstances where we are in our life, we try to preach. And when we do, if we have the guidelines of the previous acharyas or the institutes for our Gaudiya Math, then I think if for our Sampradaya, then I think it's very, very visible, or it should be visible, that what are the guidelines put together. And that's the reason I requested Prabhuji to share those guidelines with others who might not. Of course, I'm sure many devotees have already done Bhakti Level 1 and 2, and many other great courses. But this is one of those things, and I believe it's very, very important that when we read the scriptures, because we are reading the scriptures that translated by Srila Prabhupada, right? Then we understand the mood and mission, how Prabhupada in that context has utilized his mood and mission. And if it's missing from the lecture, from the presentation, then the assessor who assesses you at the end, and all the peers, so the way it happens is like a 360-degree peer review, and all of them, and that's what we should have. So if I'm doing the session today, then the session is for everyone, and everybody should be able to chip in at any time. So I have my chat open, I have the participant list, so anyone will raise the virtual hand, I should be able to see. If anyone will say anything in the chat, I should be able to see. Then we will get into that mood where a founder Acharya was, and our other previous Acharya as well, what we understand from this very small thing, but it could impact us to a great deal. And while Ramanand Kanai Prabhuji mentioned the second reason, before he said it, he used a great word, I think. And I think this is very important for us to understand and use this word number of times until it really sinks into us. And that word is realization. So we call, for example, Lord Buddha. We call Lord Buddha as Lord Buddha. His name was Siddhartha Gautama. He was not Buddha. But the day he became Buddha, the reason was, what was the difference between Siddhartha Gautama one day to Lord Buddha another day? The difference was that now he was self-realized. Not that he didn't know anything, but he was self-realized. And it is self, which is got to be me, right? It's not that somebody else is saying that if you go out in sunshine, then you will feel hot. We've been out in the sun, or we are out in the sun, and we can feel sun. So I have a couple of kids, and like what the kids are, especially born and brought up here in UK, currently growing up in London, especially my son, who is a teenager. I'm sure some of you would recollect your time with teenager kids, that whenever you say another thing, okay, so you think the, and children, they reply back, no, not that I think so, I know so, right? So not only I think so, I know so, which is, that is my self-realization. Because a lot of time parents, they put so many things on the kids that do this, because it's my self-realization. But until unless the kids, they realize themselves, and the day they realize it, then you don't have to go after them. So currently my daughter, who is 10 and a half, is preparing for an exam, entrance exam for the secondary school. And my wife, a lot of time, she says that you need to do this, you need to explain that other thing. I say, I only need to explain one thing to her. If she self-realizes that she needs to study, then even if you and me, we are not around, she will study. She needs to self-realize the importance of it. And once she does, that's it. We don't really need to be helicopter parents, which most of us are, especially coming from Indian ethnicity. So what applies to children, I think applies to us as the student of Chaitanya Charitamrita and other scriptures we do. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Right. So thank you so much for chipping in for chapter 1 and chapter 2 synopsis. Then moving forward, which we are not doing so very briefly, and the reason I put them, usually we don't put all the text in one go in one slide, but the reason I have left it, because we are not going to discuss it now. We will move on and get to chapter 2 overview before moving on to the verses itself. And again, as I was saying, that is very important to understand the context before we get into the verses itself. So I'm not going to go to the rest of them, because we are going to go by the mercy of all the devotees here. So hopefully we will go further and get to those chapters later. But in chapter 2 itself, in the introduction, what Srila Prabhupada has said, the very first thing Prabhupada said is that these are the pastimes of the Lords performed during the last 12 years of his life. And this is very significant. This is what I feel, that where we are, again, this is Madhya Lila, but we're currently, the subject matter is for Anta Lila, the last 12 years. So sometime if you are out of context, or if we miss few sessions and we come back to the session, then we lose the context. So remember, we are doing Madhya Lila, but we are in chapter 2, so we are in an Anta Lila. So these are the last 12 years, and these are excluded times for Chaitanya Mahaprabhuji. So the Lord himself, in the mood of Radharani, the perfect, the greatest devotee ever happened, if I understand correctly, then the Lord himself is in that mood of a great devotee. So even though Lord is saying something, Lord is saying in that mood of a great devotee. And these are the 12 years. 12 years. I mean, we try to circulate ourselves for a couple of hours every morning for the chanting, and our mind goes here and there. And I can certainly say for myself, but I hope it will resonate for a lot of you, that when we start chanting, even those things we didn't even think about anything, all right. So Gauranga Prabhuji shared once from Govardhan Eco Village that there's one Prabhuji who put together, I think, 18 reasons, or the ways, 18 ways how we should do perfect chanting. And then when somebody asked that, okay, obviously one of the main things of the perfect chanting is that we should chant with a perfect focus. Our mind should not go anywhere else. And these are the 18 ways. Following that, we could able to engage our mind in reciting the mantra and hearing the mantra. Nothing else is required, right? This is what Srila Prabhupada said. I hope you will remember when somebody said to Srila Prabhupada that Prabhupada, my mind doesn't stay with the mantra. And Prabhupada said that, well, anyone remembers that what was Prabhupada's response then? Hare Krishna. It's so here to see Sarup Krishna Prabhuji. Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Then Pranam. Anyone would like to remind us what was Srila Prabhupada's response when somebody said that when I chant, my mind doesn't stay with the mantra, with Mahamantra.
So, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please.
Prabhu, I think Prabhupada said that you should chant loudly. Then there is that time mind will not go anywhere. You should chant loudly and you should hear the sound of divine chanting. Then where is that? Means that time mind won't go. No, means there is. Means I'm not able to explain actually. Is it correct, Prabhu? Like that only he told.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Mataji. Indeed.
There is no space for mind that
Mhm.
time. If you
Yes.
chant loudly and hear.
Yes. Thank you, Mataji. Yes, and of course, our Guru Maharaj has always said because he was famous to chant so loudly that everybody in the vicinity will hear. So loud chanting is certainly one of the best ways of doing it. Prabhuji, you got your virtual hand up, please.
Oh, I remember Prabhupada mentions that this chanting of Hare Krishna mantra is nothing to do with the mind.
Mhm.
What mind has to do on this? It is only a tongue and ear. Chant and hear. So that's all. So as you do it, then mind will, don't worry about mind. Just chant and hear. Mind will come automatically. So
Right.
I think this is what Prabhupada mentioned.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Yes, of course, one of the way to focus is that we chant loudly, but the direct reply, the response Srila Prabhupada gave was that, well, you chant from your tongue, you hear from your ear, where the mind comes in. Mind is not there in between. You chant from your tongue and you hear from your ear, and the mind is not there. But of course, we do know that between the tongue and ear, our mind does come in. But of course, Prabhupada is emphasizing that if in case we chant such a way that we hear it, what we say, then there is no need for the mind. And in the text, I think Prabhuji has said it, one of the Prabhujis, that do it whether you like it or not. Do it whether you like it or not. And again, this is like what parents do with children. Do it whether you like it or not, because it's one of those things you're supposed to do. And children would do it because they are dependent on us. But a lot of times we have seen that they will only do it as long as they are dependent on us. As soon as they will become independent, they might stop doing it because they have the choice now. However, of course, we believe that if they do it continuously, it might become their habit. And during the process, it will be a self-realizing process. This is what Krishna conscious process is. And a lot of times we do it, whether we like it or not. I think it was His Holiness Bhakti Charu Swamiji Maharaj who said that a bad round is better than no round. So one of the disciples said, Prabhupada, I find it hard. So Guru Maharaj, I find it hard to focus and concentrate while doing it. And Guru Maharaj said, well, don't stop it. Don't stop doing it. This is what Prabhuji said, whether you like it or not. Don't stop chanting because your mind is not there, because you can't focus. Even if it's a bad round, because a lot of times devotees think, and of course, the reflection comes in from one of the 10 offenses we recite every day, right at the end. And it says that even ineffective chanting could be considered as one of the aparadha. Of course, devotees don't want to do nama aparadha. So they say, well, we will only chant when it's not diverted chanting. So where we are in this section, in this chapter, is where Chaitanya Mahaprabhuji himself as a devotee focus. And I think initially when the chapter starts, verse 4, verse 5, and even later on, the state of mind, the consciousness has been given emphasized. If we see the chapter itself, and this is the Anta Lila. Remember, the end of the Lila of Chaitanya Mahaprabhuji, why we are all Gauriyas. And Haribol. So Prabhuji, I just got a message from one of the Prabhuji's, direct message. I'm not sure if it's supposed to be direct or for everyone, but I will read it for the benefit of all, that this is the only method. So I think Srila Prabhupada said it. This is the only method that you chant loudly and hear Hare Krishna. If your mind is in other things, it will be forced to concentrate on the sound vibration, Krishna. You haven't got to withdraw your mind from other. Automatically, it will be withdrawn because the sound is there. Srila Prabhupada ji in Los Angeles, 18th of February. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for sharing it. And indeed, it's very important to share and hear what our acharyas and senior Vaishnavas have said about it. So it's so important that how we could do it. And this is probably one of the most important bits where we are. So going forward, then the last 12 years of Chaitanya Mahaprabhuji is there in Anta Lila. Then opinion of Swarup Damodar is authoritative. And now obviously the next part is part of it, that notes of Swarup Damodar memorized by Raghunath Dasa Goswamiji. And this is where the connection comes in, because the author, Krishna Goswami Ji, he got these memories, these pastimes, not only from his experience, but from other as well. Like this is what Srila Prabhupada said, that when I'm putting the Shastras together, they are not my commentaries. I'm taking the Acharya's commentaries in different languages and putting them together. And this is what Krishna Das Goswamiji did as well. That he, after Swarup Damodar Goswamiji disappeared, then that's Ramanan. Raghunath Dasa Goswamiji traveled and met Krishnadas Goswamiji in Vrindavan and narrated those pastimes. And through those notes, these Anta Lilas, 12 years came together. Of course, there were many more, but that was one of the sources given by the author in the introduction. I think it's very important there to understand where all those comes, because as we say, especially in Vaishnava etiquette, and again, this is one of those highlights when we do the lectures and presentations. We should always have Vaishnava integrity as part of it. And this is what the author did. This is what Srila Prabhupada always did. What Srila Prabhupada, when somebody said that in the immigration of US airport, where Srila Prabhupada arrived, somebody said that, so you are another holy man from India? There be many here. So you are also the man of God. What did Srila Prabhupada say? Srila Prabhupada said, no, God didn't send me. My Guru Maharaj sent me. Right? And it's so powerful. Because of course, people could have different opinions about God. And especially in the Western culture, people do. But everybody could respect the teacher, or most of us do. Right? That somebody has taken the instructions from teachers and gone further. And then the author expects, and this is beautiful, this itself is the essence of, I think, all the Shastras, of all the Vedic culture, of all the consciousness, Krishna consciousness movement. The author expects. So why are we doing all that? Now, some of you And I sometimes put my hand up, hand on heart. Sometimes I feel it when the presenter or the facilitator who is doing the lecture, who is doing the presentation, rather than getting to the point, gets diverted here and there. And some of you might be thinking that, oh, we better move on to text 64, because last week we completed text 63. So we should move on to text 64, which of course the Krishna Prabhuji recited so well. So we better move on there. But I always ask the question, now what's the purpose of all this? What is the purpose of all this? Why are we doing it? Of course, we could have the self-realizations shared here, but if we take it straight from the author, what the author is saying, that we're doing all that because the author expects that all this will awake the dormant love of Krishna. And I hope it rings the bell again at the end. And I say it a lot, that at the end of the 10 offenses, we always say the aim for all the Vaishnavas is to have Krishna prema, not to have Krishna, not to reach Goloka Dhama, to have Krishna prema. And this is what the author said it as well. Author didn't say that he expects that everybody who reads Chaitanya Charitamrita will go to Golok Dhama and take part in the pastimes. However, that might help, but that's not the aim. The aim is that even if somebody, whether the person will, a devotee will reach there or not, that the love for Krishna, for Chaitanya Mahaprabhuji, should be awakened. If that doesn't happen, even if we are there. So somebody asked, I don't remember whether directly from Guru Maharaj or somebody else, another Swamiji, that if by mistake somebody will reach there in a spiritual world, let's say in Goloka Dham, then what will happen? Then what will happen? And the reply was that what will happen? If you will reach somewhere, but you don't know the person, will you have any realization about the person? And doesn't that happen? We see a lot of time here in London, because Bhaktivedanta Manor is one of the tourist spot as well. If you say, I would like to go to London, especially a spiritual place, you don't have to be coming from Hindu culture or from associated with Vedic culture. You just want to go and explore. And I've met a few devotees who just came there because it's not in the center, it's further away. It's a very quiet place. And a lot of people, they just come there for the quietness. And you can just see, like Prabhupada did hippies into happies, then a lot of them, they will come with their music instruments, and when the weather is nice, they will just sit there and sing different things. They might not come into the temple. And one of my services, whenever somebody new comes, I take around the temple. Temple is quite big. We have the Bhagavad Gita walk, where a lot of the main shlokas are there, and it might take 15 minutes to walk there, but then we have Srila Prabhupada's room, we have the temple, and then the new Haveli has been built. So all that might take half an hour. And then we ask the realization from the people. So I just spoke to one of them that, would you like to come for it? And the person said, no, I've been here a number of times, but I never went into that altar, never went into that temple room. I never knew that existed here. I just came for the surroundings. And somebody like that would reach to Goloka Dham. Will that person realize the importance? Will that person realize the importance? Maybe not. And this was a reply that that person will just fall down again. Not his bad, it's just that the person doesn't have those connections. And the reason we do all these studies is just for that. It's just for that. Right? Okay, so I will stop this slide just here. And before we move any further, we have a couple of things. And of course, we will go back to the verse. But anyone would like to share anything we have discussed so far? As you can understand, my purpose is certainly not to finish Chaitanya Charitamrita, but rather self-realize. And what I understand and realize that even if one mantra has been self-realized, I think that's good enough for us to have that one thing which the author say, that we might be able to have the Krishna Prema awaken in us. Right, okay. If not, very soon we are going to do the skit, which Prabhuji mentioned in the group. So I will just go back to the verse for the completion and read the translation for this. Now, I hope all of us were there last week, where Bhaktinath Mukund Prabhuji very nicely explained that how in this verse, this chapter, the verses, I hope we have read it. If not, then they are very intimate. They are like the top level. How a pure devotee of the Lord, again Chaitanya Mahaprabhuji in the mood of Radharani, a great, perfect devotee, exhibits the ecstasy, the symptoms of that ecstasy. And even in this verse, if you see, the bhava, so the symptoms of ecstasy, different ways are there. Now, of course, we can read it and very briefly. So if we start, we could just read all of them in one go. Or we could go very slow and we can try to realize these verses. We can try to realize these verses. And that's the reason, as I said, if you want, we can just go. While I was thinking and meditating on it, then I thought, okay, from 64 to 71 verses, we could go in one stretch, which we could do now as well. Because if you think about it, there's not much to understand. However, if you want to realize, there's a lot to do. There's a lot to do. All these verses, they do not only the external symptoms, which are very dear to us when we see senior Vaishnavas manifesting those symptoms, external symptoms. I think more than, and please, by all means, tell me if I'm wrong, that more than those external symptoms, it's about internal symptoms, isn't it? Because Srila Prabhupada said, International Society of Krishna Consciousness. And that consciousness is not outside. That consciousness is inside us. Right? It's not our actions, it's not our speech, but it's the thoughts. Right? Action, speech, and thoughts. It's not the actions, not the thought, not the actions, not the speech, but the thoughts, which confirms whether those actions and speech are Krishna conscious or not. I hope everyone aligns with it. Otherwise, as I say, feel free to chastise me, but this is what I understand. So, Chaitanya Mahaprabhuji. So, here it says, of course, the external and internal symptoms being shared, but the body of the Lord was just like field of sugar cane into which the mad elephants of ecstasy enter. Now, the field of sugar cane, and when the elephant, the mad elephant, wouldn't think about it, will just get into it. What will happen to sugar canes now? Well, the elephant would not be bothered about the sugarcane field. There was a fight amongst the elephants. Of course, imagine if there is more than one elephant. And in the process, the entire field of sugarcane was destroyed. Thus, transcendental madness was awakened in the body of the Lord, and he experienced despondency in mind, internal, and body, external. In this ecstatic condition, he began to speak as well. So what he did later, maybe somebody else will do the justice next week. But what I understand here in this verse is that he experienced despondency in mind, which is internal, and body, which is external. Right? Now, we still have some time, very briefly, I guess, and I always open for the question and answers in between, from the beginning itself. If anybody has anything to say or any discussion point anybody would like to add. If not, then we will do a small skit, a bit of role play, and this comes from teachers training. I hope we have done, or many of us have done TTC1, TTC2. So just trying to deploy those skills we gain and to have the session more engaging. The idea is not that we come, because if you just want to read, if you just want to share, we could do it. The verses are very simple. But the idea is that when we come to these sessions, and even when the session is completed, we got some food for thought, which means that we are still thinking, which means we are still Krishna consciousness. And that thinking should help in Krishna consciousness, enhancing our Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna. So I would like to invite one of the great devotees here, out of all, and I will say a few words why I put this together and why I think this is relevant to us. And again, by all means, feel free to tell me off if you think that this is not appropriate. But as I say, I do believe the whole idea is to self-realize. If we do even one mantra self-realize, and indeed, didn't Srila Prabhupada ji said it, that when somebody introduced someone else to Srila Prabhupada ji, and said that Prabhupada ji, see, this person, he knows all the 700 verses of Bhagavad Gita. He could just recite all of them in one go. Anyone remembers what Srila Prabhupada's reply was?
Prabhuji, I think Prabhupada said it is better to realize even one sloka of Bhagavad Gita.
Haribo. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for confirming that. So this is my mood, that we have just done one verse today, but rather than reciting the whole Shastras, even if we realize one word, one verse, I think that's good enough, because that's the power, that's the potency of the verse. Thank you so much, B. Krishna Prabhuji, for sharing that and confirming that my memory still serves well. I was still on the correct path. But again, at the same time, feel free. There's nothing better than getting chastised by Vaishnavas, especially when they do it for your own purifications. So I will tell you the reason why the and it's not going to take more than 5 minutes, I guess. But well, again, the self-realization and the context is my kids, they do martial arts. And my daughter, for example, if anybody has done martial arts, most of the martial arts, they have the grading. So there are different belts. So we have a white belt, yellow belt. In yellow, we have senior, junior. Then we have the green belt, junior, senior. Then blue, junior, senior. Red, junior, senior. Then we have the black belt, which is the final one, right? And my daughter, she is on junior blue at the moment. And she came home and she said, today, somebody who was a black belt was showing us few skills, which we do at the time of black belt. And I started practicing them. And then the teacher, the main teacher, the master. So because the master is there, and then there are few black belts, seniors, like we have the acharya, and then we have the senior devotees. So similar sort of setup there. And she said that, he said, the master, so Srila Prabhupada, the acharya said, that why are you practicing black belt? Why are you practicing black belt? And she said, well, I've just seen it, and I thought they are very nice moves. And if anyone has done well, any kind of martial arts or sports, you would definitely agree that it's very cool, especially for the kids, if you think about, to practice those which the experts do. So those who love football, cricket, they will try to just follow, even if they can't do, the great players in the world. Right? And this is where she started doing it. And the master said, well, it's better if you practice your level, what you can do. Right? When I thought of it, I thought, Hare Krishna, isn't that so true for all of us? Rather than, because a lot of times this happens, especially this chapter, Madhya Lila, Srila Prabhupada ji exhibiting the symptoms of ecstasy, not only the bodily outside, but internally consciousness, his own, the mind of state. If you go back and read those translations, then a lot of times, not only that Prabhupada ji has mentioned in the purport, but the translation itself has said that mind of state, the state of mind, right, of Chaitanya Mahaprabhuji. What else could be more deep than that? So when I thought of that, then I thought, well, where is my level? How do I connect to Krishna? There are various ways. Of course, all the devotional services we try to perform, or we try to connect to Krishna, but they are not that intimate. And I'm just looking for one of my favorite Prabhuji, who doesn't happen to be here today, and I will mention his name because he's great devotee, and I will consider this as part of Vaishnava integrity. And then Prabhuji, we will quickly move on because the time is running. That I had a great blessing to stay with one of the great devotees in Mathura Desh, His Grace Purushottam Prabhuji. I stayed with him, and like always, Ramanand Kanai Prabhuji reminds everyone that I ask questions. And trust me, if somebody like me, and this is going back, I think at least 6-7 years back, imagine me asking all those questions. I used to ask so many questions from Prabhuji, and Prabhuji used to be so polite, so humble, and so patient and tolerant, exhibiting all those symptoms of great devotees. Of course, there was one point where Prabhuji said that, Prabhu, I think only Krishna can answer your question. And I thought, Hare Krishna, maybe I will ask the same question next day, which I did. But of course, we all have time, place, and circumstances. Not that my questions were difficult, but I think my questions are very fundamental. Because we all read and hear about black belt, and to some extent we try practicing those moves, even though when we are on white belt, yellow belt, blue belt, red belt, we all are on different belts in our consciousness. And it's a very personal connection. But one of the best things Prabhuji said, I asked Prabhuji that, Prabhuji, why do we do all these things? Book distribution, Nam Hatya, Bhakti, Vriksha, deity worship, Prashadam. And Prabhuji said something which I've heard indirectly from Guru Maharaj Ji as well, that we do all that so the quality of our chanting will improve. We do all that so the quality of our chanting will improve. This is what Prabhuji said to me 6-7 years back, and this is what I have heard indirectly that Srila Gurudev, Guru Maharaj Ji has said to someone else in reply to a question. That if we are doing all these Krishna conscious activities, or rather, whether these activities are Krishna conscious or not, depends whether these activities strengthen the quality of our chanting. So I thought chanting indeed is one of the best times when I connect directly with Krishna. While doing the devotional services, my mind, my body could be here and there. But while I'm chanting, that's the time I am with Krishna. Right? And it's a direct relationship. No one else is there. And I'm quite happy. It's 5 o'clock now. Most of the family sleeping at the moment. And if we chant here between 4 to 6 in London, there's no one around. No one around. You chant and Krishna is there with you. There's nothing else you need. So with that in focus, let's move on. And let's try, and as I was saying, in 5 minutes, hopefully we should wrap up and then we'll open the floor for the question, even though the floor has always been open, but we will open it again formally. But I thought let's discuss this. And I'm going to spotlight Prabhuji and add myself as well, because it's a communication we will have. I will introduce you a devotee who is very new in Krishna consciousness, and I just happened to meet him, and there are 3 different scenes, and I will say a few things in between. But at the end, I'm going to request everyone to share the realizations. So please bear in mind what happens in this. So scene 1 starts now. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, how are you doing?
Thank you for asking, Varun sir. I am okay, but not okay.
Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, what happened? You are looking a bit upset today.
No, sir, actually, nothing is going right in my life. Thanks to Adani, whole share market is ups and down, and I lost more than 20 lakhs in last few days itself in the stock market. And that is affecting my health, and it's going down very badly, and a lot of things, a lot of problems in the office, and I'm not okay. I'm not okay, sir.
Oh,
I feel too much stressed nowadays.
so sorry to hear that, Prabhuji. But Prabhuji, mind it that these are material things. They will never go up and up, right? The share prices were going up, but at some time they will go down as well. They always and always go up and down with time. Our founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ji said that just chant and be happy. And you could be happy just by chanting, whether the share is going up or down. You remember I had gifted that book on your birthday? Just chant and be happy. Prabhuji, please read that book and just chant. Krishna will fix everything.
Dear Varun sir, actually, I kept that book in my altar. Actually, I'm doing when I'm looking at God. I'm looking at that book, and I feel happy when I see the book. But reading, I'm not sure, Prabhuji, whether I'll get some time on this. But I don't think any of these things will work for me because I'm full of problems and so many problems around. But since you are telling me again and again, let me try once to read the book and see if something happens in my life. Yeah.
Great, Krishna. Great to hear that, Prabhuji. Please do that, because Srila Prabhupada ji always said that my books are not only for distributing, they are there to read. So please, Prabhuji, read that book, and I will touch base again very soon, and I will pray to Krishna that along with your material things, your spiritual sadhana will go better as well. Look forward to hear very soon with you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Varun sir. I'll try.
Hare Krishna. So that was scene one. Now, as said, a lot of us, we do this, don't we? That we keep the Shastras in the, well, I got a book cupboard right next to me, and Bhagavatam is looking very beautiful there. And when the friends come, they look at it and they say, oh, it's looking great. And a lot of us, we do that, don't we? A lot of devotees, we do. We keep it. And how often we read Srila Prabhupada's books? We distribute, but do we read it? But Prabhupada said we should read it. But let's go back. Scene two, where our potential devotee might have managed to read the book, just chant and be happy. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, how are you doing?
Hare Krishna, Govinda Prabhu, Krishna Kurpa. Thank you very much for inspiring me to read that book. And really, I feel I'm good now. It's all going good. Yeah.
Hare Krishna. How is your chanting, Prabhuji?
Chanting, yes, Govinda Prabhu, it's going well. I'm very regular in my chanting. I'm trying to finish my rounds before I sleep end of the day. Thank you very much for keep me inspiring all the time.
Hare Krishna. And Prabhuji, how are your material things going? Your shares, health?
Prabhu, these are all material things, so many Adani, so many Harshad Mehtas, and they come and go. The ups and downs are part of this part and parcel of our life. But I understand that what is important for us, that we should understand that we are part and parcel of the Lord. I actually have occupied most of my time in doing temple services, and I don't have time to think of all this share market and all these problems nowadays. Yes, Prabhu, that is what it's happening.
Wow. Hare Bol. Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, all glories to your services. So great to hear, Prabhuji, that you have engaged yourself in Krishna conscious activities in the temple. Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, so great to hear from you. Please take care, keep chanting, keep reading the books, and we shall touch base again very soon. Take care, Prabhuji.
Thank you very much, Govinda Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. So as we have seen, devotees in scene one, the devotee didn't chant, didn't read, and this is maybe probably some of us were before we joined the movement. Scene two, this is where most of us are, but maybe scene three, where some of us have reached, but whether that is the best place to be. Now, scene two, what just happened, the devotee was very happy. And if we notice, initially devotee addressed me as from my karmic name, but then devotee addressed me from the name of the Lord, Govinda. And these changes we all see when we join Krishna consciousness movement. But scene 3 will give us more insights where we get engaged so much, and then what happens, right? And I think most of us being preachers, most of us keep ourselves engaged in Krishna conscious activities. So scene 3 may be where we are at the moment. But let's see. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, how are you doing?
Hare Krishna, Varnapati Govinda Prabhu. I am okay. I'm okay.
What happened, Prabhuji? You're looking a bit sad.
What shall I say, Prabhu? Gaurav Purnima is just around the corner, and a lot of things for me to plan and sort it out. I need to fix up the guest speaker. He's not confirmed, and the temple hall is not confirmed. I expecting a lot of people to come for the program. I not finalized the venue. This is the responsibility was given to me by authorities, and I am yet to fix the menu for prasadam. Prabhuji, I'm really stressed out because of all these things, Prabhu. I don't know what to do.
Oh, Prabhuji, don't worry at all. Please don't worry. Have faith in Krishna. Krishna will fix everything. How is your chanting going, Prabhuji?
Chanting, Prabhu, I'm doing, but I don't have time to really focus on the chanting, Prabhu. There's so many services in hand. Even while chanting, also I'm thinking of all these problems, how to do this, fix this problem, how to fix that problem. I have so many services given by senior devotees, and while chanting, also I'm thinking about them, Prabhu. I'm not able to focus on chanting.
Prabhuji, please, don't compromise on chanting. Chanting is the most important things, Prabhuji. Don't compromise chanting for these activities, even though these are devotional, Krishna conscious activities. It is supposed to be other way around. That with these activities, having done these activities in Krishna consciousness state of mind, the chanting should improve. It should enhance the quality of chanting. This is the whole essence of the purpose of doing all these services. Not other way around, that our chanting will get sacrificed and then we engage ourselves in these. So I request Prabhuji, please, if in case you need to restrict yourself in the services to improve and enhance the quality of your chanting, maybe that will help. But please, Prabhuji, focus on your chanting.
Yes, you are right, Varnapati Govinda Prabhu. I will take care of that in future. And Prabhuji, can you give me any suggestions how to really improve my sadhana? That will really great help for me.
Prabhuji, it's always recommended that we chant with senior Vaishnavas in the association of those great devotees of the Lord, if in case we have the Sangha around. Because when we chant alone, it's just the strength of our own consciousness, which could go up and down, because remember, the consciousness itself is material as well. But when we chant with others, and even if our consciousness is down based on time, place, and circumstances, but other devotees' association will uplift us. So may I request, Prabhuji, that if you can start chanting with senior Vaishnavas in the Sangha, that will really help to enhance the quality of your chanting, Prabhuji, please.
Thank you very much, Varnapati Govinda Prabhu. It is a great suggestions you given, and really I'm indebted to you, Hare Krishna. I will surely try to follow your instructions. I'll do that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. And have faith in Krishna. Have faith in the potential of the holy name. then please do that, and everything will be okay, both material and spiritually eternal. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Then with please take good care.
Thank you very much, Parnapati Govinda Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Hare Bol. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for your support during that. Now, may I request devotees to reflect upon what we have just discussed? Anyone would like to reflect anything? Anyone feels that you are there? Certainly, I feel it sometimes. And while, as I was saying, we finished Bhakti Vaibhav 2, we were finishing. So only last week we managed to finish. And still some loose threads are there to wind up. But at the same time, this service also came up. And I've learned in the beginning of my Krishna consciousness journey that leaving any service, the opportunity of any service is or could be considered as a seva aparadha if we don't do the justice with it. So I hope I have done some little justice. But anyone would like to share any realization? And as I was saying, this is a close-knit group of devotees. If we can't open our heart here, then I'm not sure where else we could. Right, okay. Anyone, please? Right. Okay, I will say one more thing, and hopefully that will leave us with a thought, with a food for thought. Now, as I was saying that last week we completed Bhakti Vaibhav module 2. One of the last bit was the presentation, and while I was there in the presentation, not my presentation, only the Prabhuji was doing presentation, I was upstairs. And my wife, she was downstairs, and my mother-in-law, she was here in London from Delhi to stay with us for a while. And while I was there in the presentation with my camera on, I heard loud cry. I have never experienced that in my life. Very loud cry. And first one person, and I was just thinking, what's happening? Who is? So it took me a while to understand that this is cry. And I thought, who is making that noise? And then I thought, somebody's crying. And this was happening split seconds. Oh, this is my mother-in-law. And then I could hear my wife crying as well. I just ran down. I forgot to close my camera. I ran down, and my mother-in-law, my wife, they were crying, they were in tears. And I'm saying, what happened? What has happened? I mean, I met them a few minutes back and everything was okay. What has happened? Why are you crying so desperately? And after a few minutes, my mother-in-law couldn't say, my wife said that my mother-in-law's younger brother just had heart attack like last 20 minutes back in India, in Delhi, and he died. My mother-in-law, just to give you the context, my mother-in-law, there are 6 brothers and 6 sisters, and her younger brother retired as one of the heads, departmental heads from Delhi Electric Board, having worked for all his life, and he just retired a couple of years back, and he was having a great life with his family, and he is one of the healthiest person among all the siblings, and I've met him, and he's always happy, and anyone you speak to will say that I've spoken to obviously the rest of the family as well before, and I've met the person myself, that he is the best, and he never chastises anyone, he never blames anyone, He's always happy, healthiest one among all. He got the heart attack and he died. Instantaneously, nobody could do anything. He was declared brought dead in the hospital. How that happened? He was changing an electric bulb in his home. He was the departmental head of electric board, Delhi Electric Board. He was a senior civil servant. He had played with, he was an electrician to start with. And we do have electric engineers here. When you understand electricity, when you have played with electricity and you got heart attack while changing the bulb. When I heard that, and my mother-in-law, she had to rush back. And interesting enough, just to add on to it, my mother-in-law went back, but my mother-in-law, so another cousin is also here in UK, in Oxford, where Oxford University is. Oxfordshire is a county. Oxford is a town. So in Oxford, another cousin brother lives, who is the son of my mother-in-law's elder brother. So which means the person who died, his elder brother was also there in UK. And my cousin had to go for the funeral. But this elder brother of this person who died, the elder brother of my mother-in-law, could not go because of his visa restrictions. He got some issues with his visa. We are waiting for his hearing. And he could not leave the country while the process is under. And he's currently staying with us because I could not go because the kids are there. And he's currently here with me. And I was discussing things with him yesterday evening. And his younger brother, he's the eldest one of all 6 brothers and sisters. He's in tears. He's in pain. He could not even go and attend his brother's funeral. And this is the first brother out of 6. Probably the most loved brother. And eldest brother is here in London with me currently, living upstairs right at this moment. He could not go. As a sadhak, as a practitioner, devotee, what do I understand? If I tell you before, let's say we are going to finish in 5 minutes, and if we say that in next 5 minutes and next 10 minutes, we are going to get the heart attack. We might not be fortunate enough to know that. What are we going to do? We don't have to say to anyone, but hand on our heart, how many of us will pick the chanting beads? Or how many of us will start worrying about many other things? Maybe go and hug our family members. This is the reality. This could happen to anyone at any time. Hence, we need to be Krishna conscious 24/7. Antakale Narayana Smriti. With that, I would like to close it. It's that time. I think I've utilized even the last minute. So anyone would like to share anything? And the reason I mention this, that don't think what others think about you, because in Krishna consciousness, the relationship is there with Krishna. We can pretend externally, we can try to exhibit those symptoms externally, which is there in chapter 2 of Madhya Lila. But it's internal and Krishna knows it. So if we can't open our heart in the close knit of devotional, then I don't know where we could. But I beg forgiveness. I know it's a different format which I usually follow, especially today's. I like to end it here because the time has completed. But anyone would like to say anything, and as I said, anything, feel free to say anything. I'm always ready to take it on my chin. Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, looks like no one got anything to say. And to be honest, I think that why do we, I mean, we are devotees, but in Bhagavad Gita, the very first jnana, knowledge Krishna gave to Arjun was Atma Jnana, the knowledge of the soul. And we all know we're going to leave one day. So if somebody died, why? Why we as the devotees are surprised or stunned or impacted with that news? Maybe the reason is because we are not self-realized. Maybe because we are still living with the borrowed knowledge and wisdom. But I pray to everyone for the Hare Krishna. Dhanvat pranams to everyone. Over to you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Varunapati Govinda Prabhu. Sorry to address you with that name because I'm doing the skit. That name has come on my tongue. I'm just repeating the same thing. I don't know that you not like to be called as Varunapati Govinda Prabhu, but still it has come to my mind. So thank you very much, Prabhu, for the wonderful and different format of the discussion we had today. This is your usual style of conveying the message in a different way. So it is very interesting and really touching. And you could develop this skit role play in a very short time. And I saw today morning, I think somewhere yesterday night, you sent that email. So morning I saw and just I went through. I did a few changes to suit the role play, and it was very interesting and very practical. And it definitely, I'm sure that it conveyed a lot of message to us, mainly to sadhakas. Being sadhakas, we need to understand these intricacies of devotional service, and that message definitely this role play has given. And your session today also is very interesting, and it give a lot of insights for us to think on and work on our sadhana. Thank you very much once again, Prabhu, for your association. In spite of your busy schedule, you could take out some time and you could convey this message to us. Thank you very much, VP Govinda Prabhu, once again. I think Krishna Prabhu has something to add on.
Yeah.
Krishna Prabhu. You can unmute yourself. Your video and audio both are mute.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Oh, very blissful to see your happy, smiling, blissful face. That gives a lot of energy to us.
Yeah. See, this skits anyway attract me a lot. And the skit is also so relevant. The third role fitted me so well. My sadhana has actually got a hit because of all these engagements, service engagements that I am into. And you know the solution which I have got? The solution is I have been able to link up with a mentor. And I have been doing sadhana chart all these days, but sadhana chart has also not helped me. Now you know what I do? I send the sadhana chart to him and he guides me. Okay, this is the improvement. This is where, this is what you have to do. This is the way you should be. Although so many years have passed by, I mean, these are all basics, but basics itself is where we mess up. While we think that we are engaging in something extremely serious or whatever. So that is one. I like that. The last point regarding what VP Govinda Prabhu said, that about this sudden death. And I have been writing an OBA on how, I mean, it's on that incident of Prachin Barhisat, where he is being advised to leave home immediately. So from a Grihastha life to a Vanaprastha life. And that is the stage where I am in. So that is also very relevant. So sudden death is something which requires to be really thought through, thought well. yes, there is a planning required, because you never know what can happen, and at that point of time your entire practice of chanting will help. Otherwise, you are, I mean, you know what could be the pitfall of not having gone through the process properly. And third point is, so nicely, VP Govinda Prabhu has talked about one verse. If we can realize one verse of all these scriptures, that itself is a big time achievement. And this particular verse, which verse number 64, verse number 64 is so difficult to understand. And now I realize why VP Govinda Prabhu took this particular route to explain to us Chaitanya Charitamrita. Because understanding the mood of Srimati Radharani, understanding mood of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is at a particular level which only Srila Prabhupada could realize, and we are at a level where we are still struggling with our chanting. Hare Krishna. These were the three reactions of mine. Hare Bol.
Thank you very much, Sir Krishna Prabhu, for sharing your realizations. It really helps us to focus on our sadhana. Thank you very much once again, Prabhu. So thank you very much, Govinda Prabhu, for connecting today's session more lively. And next week we'll continue with Grace Bir Krishna Prabhu, verse 65 onwards. So this will end the session here. Prabhuji, can you just please glorify Chaitanya Charitamrita and author so that we can.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Then we pronounce everyone. Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai, Kaviraj Krishna Ki jai.